This video will help you learn 90% of the videography. All you have to do is stick with me till the end. Hello everybody, my name is Junaid Qureshi. If this is your first time, welcome to the channel. I make videos about tech and creativity. If any of these things excites you, consider subscribing. And sorry about these noises, there have been a leakage behind this wall and civil work is happening. I just cannot stop recording the video. So let's learn the basic of videography. So this is another series in continuity of my previous series of photography basics, where you learn how to use your camera to the menu system. We took pictures in auto mode, and from there we learned exposure triangle to take pictures in manual mode. In photography, we learn almost everything: ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. And in this video, we are going to learn how to use all these settings in video making. So let's start with frame rate. Videography is like photography. You take certain amount of pictures in 1 second and play back those pictures to make a video. And this is called frame rate, also known as FPS, frames per second. The standard frame rate in movies is 24 FPS. Means you take 24 pictures in 1 second and then you play those 24 pictures in 1 second to make a 1 second shot or a scene. You can use different frame rates. In most cameras, 24 and 60 FPS are being offered, but in new mirrorless cameras, they are offering 24, 60 and 120 FPS. But keep one thing in mind, I'm talking about recording frame rates. And the most important thing is playback settings. Means on which setting you are going to play back all these recorded frames. For an example, if you choose to play back your videos at 24 FPS and your recorded settings were 60 FPS, means 60 frames were recorded in 1 second. Means you have recorded 2.5 times more frames than your playback settings. And that's how you achieve slow-mo, also called slow motion. On 24 FPS timeline, 60 frames per second is 2.5 times slow motion. And on 24 FPS timeline, 120 frames per second is 5 times slow motion. You can also play back your footage at 60 FPS, but what happens if you play back your footage at 60 FPS and also recorded it in 60 FPS? Your footage will play very smooth and you will not able to achieve slow motion, but you will see more frames in between the movement of your subject. Now the second most important thing is shutter speed. Shutter speed in video is responsible for motion blur and is tightly related to your frame rates. In videos, there is a rule of 180-degree shutter, but in most cameras, shutter speed is given the way 1/24, 1/60, 1/120, and that's how you achieve 180-degree shutter angle. All you have to remember is you always double your shutter speed with your recording frame rates. For example, if you are recording in 24 FPS, your shutter speed should be 1/48th of a second. But in most cameras, you don't get 1/48th of a second. You will get 1/50th of a second, and that's totally fine. So why we use 180-degree shutter rule? By doing this, the motion blur you will get is the most realistic, which you see with your eyes. But the question is how other shutter speeds look like. For instance, if you decrease your shutter speed to 1/20th of a second, then your motion blur will increase and it will not look natural. And on the other hand, if you increase your shutter speed at 1/150th of a second, the shutter will refresh so fast, it will hardly make any motion blur, and that will also not look very natural. But that doesn't mean you cannot use these shutter speed. It all depends on what you are shooting and what is the demand of your scene. But 99% of the time, you should always double the shutter speed of your recording frame rates. So the shutter speed and frame rate are the main two settings in video making. Rest ISO and aperture are totally subjective and it all depends on your need. Same as photography, if you want to compensate the light, you can increase or decrease your ISO, or you can increase or decrease your aperture, like I have taught you before in photography. So these are the basics of videography. By practicing this, you will learn 90% of the videography. Now go out and try to shoot in different frame rates or playback in different frame rates. This is how you will master this thing. In next video, I will talk about camera angles and video aspect ratios. So this is it for today. If you like today's video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one. Till then, peace.